London, 1842. She shall never marry, poor thing, whispered Lady Harrington behind her fan. Too plain by half. Olivia Ackley pretended not to hear as she arranged the sheet music on the pianoforte. At 24, she had grown accustomed to such remarks, the pitying glances, the hushed conversations that fell silent when she approached. Her reflection in the looking-glass told her what society never tired of confirming: she possessed neither beauty nor fortune sufficient to secure a husband. The music room at Harrington House buzzed with the chatter of London's elite. Crystal chandeliers cast a warm glow over silk gowns and tailored evening coats. Olivia's modest grey dress, though impeccably tailored, only emphasized her unremarkable appearance: brown hair neither rich nor lustrous, eyes neither particularly large nor brilliantly colored, figure neither petite nor statuesque. "Miss Ackley," called her hostess, "would you favor us with a performance?" With a practiced smile, Olivia took her place at the instrument. Music was her solace, the one arena where she need not compete with prettier faces. Her fingers moved across the keys with precision and feeling that transformed her entirely, though few troubled themselves to notice the change. Among those assembled was the recently returned Earl Quincy, a man of 38 whose absence from England had spawned countless rumors. He stood apart from the gathering, watching the unfolding social ritual with detached amusement. As the final notes of Olivia's performance faded, polite applause rippled through the room. She rose, curtsied, and retreated to her corner, where her widowed aunt waited. "Beautifully played," said Aunt Margaret. "Though I dare say no one was listening." "I do not play for their attention, Aunt," Olivia replied, smoothing her skirts. "Which is fortunate, for you shall never gain it. Not with Lucinda Fairchild making her debut tonight." Her aunt nodded toward a striking young woman in pale blue silk, surrounded by admirers. The evening progressed as all such evenings did, Olivia watching from the periphery as more favored ladies danced and flirted. She had resigned herself to spinsterhood long ago, had crafted a life of modest contentment around books, music, and charitable work. If sometimes she yearned for more, she kept such foolishness firmly in check. "You played magnificently." The deep voice startled her. Olivia turned to find Earl Quincy standing beside her, his expression unreadable. "You are too kind, my lord," she replied, her heart quickening despite herself. "Not kind. Merely truthful." His eyes, startlingly grey beneath dark brows, studied her with unsettling intensity. Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata requires more than technical skill. "You understand its melancholy." Before Olivia could respond, Lady Harrington descended upon them. "Lord Quincy! You must meet Miss Fairchild, such a delightful girl, and from an excellent family." With a slight bow to Olivia, he allowed himself to be led away, leaving her to wonder at the brief exchange. "The Earl spoke to you?" Aunt Margaret had materialized at her side. "How extraordinary. They say he's seeking a wife, though why he would address you when half the eligible ladies in London are present is beyond comprehension." "Perhaps he merely appreciates music," Olivia said, though she could not suppress a strange flutter of hope. The following morning found Olivia in Hyde Park, accompanying her young cousin on his constitutional. 10-year-old Thomas raced ahead, leaving Olivia to follow at a more sedate pace, enjoying the crisp autumn air and relative solitude. "Miss Ackley." She turned to find Earl Quincy on horseback, looking even more imposing in daylight. "My lord." She curtsied, acutely aware of her plain walking dress and sensible bonnet. He dismounted in one fluid motion. "I hope I find you well this morning." "Quite well, thank you." Olivia glanced ahead to ensure Thomas remained in sight. "Your nephew?" the Earl inquired, following her gaze. "Cousin. I assist with his education when my aunt's governesses prove inadequate." "A frequent occurrence, I gather." There was amusement in his voice. "Thomas has strong opinions regarding Latin verbs and their place in a gentleman's education." The Earl laughed, a surprisingly warm sound from such a formidable man. "As did I, at his age." They fell into step together, the Earl leading his horse. "I understand you've recently returned from abroad, my lord," Olivia ventured. "Yes. 7 years in diplomatic service. India, primarily. How fascinating that must have been. Parts of it, certainly. His expression darkened momentarily. Other aspects were challenging. Before she could inquire further, Thomas came running back. "Cousin Livy! There's a man with a dancing bear by the Serpentine." "Thomas, mind your manners," Olivia chided gently. "This is the Earl of Quincy." The boy made a hasty bow. "Begging your pardon, my lord." "No pardon necessary, young man. A dancing bear is indeed worthy of excitement." The Earl's serious tone made Thomas beam. "Perhaps Miss Ackley would permit me to escort you both to this marvel." Thomas looked pleadingly at Olivia. "That's very kind, but I wouldn't wish to impose upon your morning, my lord." "No imposition. I find myself in need of amusement after years of diplomatic gravity." The unexpected encounter stretched to an hour as they watched the bear's performance, Thomas chattering animatedly while the Earl responded with surprising patience. Olivia observed them together, puzzled by this unforeseen side of the aristocrat rumored to be cold and formidable. When they parted at the park gates, the Earl bowed over her hand. "Miss Ackley, might I call upon you tomorrow?" Astonishment rendered her momentarily speechless. Yes, of course, my lord." As he rode away, Olivia stood bewildered, certain she had misunderstood his intention. Men like Earl Quincy did not call upon plain, unremarkable women like herself. Aunt Margaret's reaction confirmed this assessment. "The Earl? Coming here? Impossible." She paced their modest drawing room. "He must wish to discuss Thomas's education. Perhaps he seeks a tutor for a ward or relative." "Perhaps," Olivia agreed, tamping down inappropriate disappointment. Yet the following afternoon, Earl Quincy arrived precisely at the appointed hour, dressed immaculately and bearing a volume of poetry. "I recalled your mention of admiring Wordsworth," he said, presenting the book. "This edition contains his latest works." Aunt Margaret, having hastily arranged herself in the drawing-room's best chair, watched their exchange with poorly concealed amazement. "How very thoughtful, my lord," Olivia said, genuinely touched by his remembrance of a casual comment made during their walk. The visit, expected to be brief, extended to nearly 2 hours of conversation ranging from literature to politics to music. The Earl spoke to Olivia directly, seeking her opinions with apparent interest, while Aunt Margaret's attempts to steer discussion toward eligible relatives fell curiously flat. When he finally took his leave, promising to send his carriage for them to attend a musical performance the following week, Aunt Margaret collapsed into her chair. "I cannot make sense of it," she declared. "The man could have his pick of beauties with substantial dowries. Why he would waste time with you is utterly beyond comprehension." "Thank you for that assessment, Aunt," Olivia replied dryly. "You know I speak only the truth, child. I've never held with filling your head with false hopes. And I've never indulged in them." Yet that night, alone in her bedroom, Olivia allowed herself to wonder. The Earl was undeniably handsome, with his tall frame, strong features, and penetrating grey eyes. More compelling was his mind, quick, thoughtful, and unexpectedly kind. She had caught him watching her several times during his visit, his expression unreadable but intent. "Foolishness," she murmured to her reflection. "Complete foolishness." The musical evening marked the beginning of a pattern. Over the following weeks, Earl Quincy, Edmund, as he asked her to call him in private, appeared regularly at their modest home. He escorted Olivia to concerts, galleries, and lectures, seemingly indifferent to the raised eyebrows and whispered speculation their association generated. London society buzzed with theories. Some suggested the Earl had incurred gambling debts and sought Olivia's modest inheritance. Others whispered of a secret arrangement with her family. The kindest supposed he merely enjoyed intelligent conversation without romantic intentions. "I care nothing for their prattle," Edmund told her as they strolled through the British Museum one afternoon, a discreet maid following at a proper distance. "You should," Olivia replied. "Your position demands a certain regard for public opinion." My position has afforded me enough privilege to ignore tedious social expectations. He paused before a Roman sculpture. Do you know what I observed during my years abroad, Olivia? What? That beauty, the kind our society venerates, is entirely arbitrary. In India, different features are prized. Different mannerisms admired. The whole enterprise of determining worth by appearance revealed itself as absurd. Olivia studied the marble face before them. A philosophical perspective, certainly. But we live here, in England, where such matters determine one's entire future. Only if we grant them that power. He turned to face her directly. You are not plain, Olivia. You are extraordinary. Her heart fluttered traitorously. My mirror suggests otherwise. Your mirror shows merely a surface. I see what lies beneath. His hand moved as if to touch her face, then dropped. Your kindness to that insufferable nephew of mine. Your mind, which challenges my own. The way music transforms you entirely. Olivia looked away, unable to bear the intensity of his gaze. You are very kind. I am not kind, he said, an edge entering his voice. I am selfish and demanding and often difficult. But I am honest. Before she could respond, they were interrupted by the arrival of Lady Harrington and her daughter. Lord Quincy! Miss Ackley! What a delightful coincidence! Lady Harrington's smile did not reach her eyes. We were just admiring the Egyptian collection. The moment shattered, Olivia retreated behind her customary reserve as Edmund made polite conversation. Yet his words lingered, kindling a dangerous hope she dared not nurture. That evening, a letter arrived for Aunt Margaret. Olivia, arranging flowers in the drawing room, watched her aunt's face pale as she read its contents. What is it? Not bad news, I hope. Aunt Margaret looked up, her expression stricken. It's from your cousin William. The investment he made with your inheritance, the one that was to secure our living, it's gone. All of it. Olivia sank into a chair. Gone? How is that possible? The shipping venture failed completely. The ships were lost in a storm off Portugal. Aunt Margaret crumpled the letter. We are ruined, Olivia. Utterly ruined. The implications crashed upon her. Their modest home, their servants, their very independence, all depended on the income from Olivia's inheritance from her parents. Without it, we still have the house, Olivia said, thinking rapidly. And my skill with the pianoforte. I could take pupils. Aunt Margaret gave a bitter laugh. A lady does not work for her bread, Olivia. Besides, this house is mortgaged. Without the quarterly income, we cannot maintain the payments. Then we shall find smaller accommodations. Where? How? And who would hire you without references as a music teacher? Her aunt shook her head. No, there is only one solution. I must write to your uncle in Yorkshire. Perhaps he will take us in. Uncle George, her father's elder brother who had made no secret of his resentment at having to share their parents' modest estate with Olivia. The thought of becoming dependent upon his charity made her stomach clench. Let me think, Olivia pleaded. Surely there must be another way. But in the days that followed, no solution presented itself. Creditors began appearing at their door. Aunt Margaret took to her bed with nervous complaints. The servants whispered of seeking other positions. Most devastating was the necessary withdrawal from society. Olivia sent a note to Edmund explaining she could not attend the botanical exhibition they had planned to visit, citing a minor illness. When he called the following day, she instructed the maid to say they were not at home. This cannot continue, Aunt Margaret declared on the third day of their seclusion. The Earl has called twice more. People will talk. Let them, Olivia replied, attempting to calculate how many weeks they could maintain appearances before their circumstances became public knowledge. You don't understand. Lord Quincy's attention, peculiar as it is, has been your only social advantage. Once our situation becomes known, even that will evaporate. His interest was never more than friendship, Olivia said firmly. And friendship based on false pretenses is no friendship at all. Yet when Edmund's carriage appeared again the following afternoon, Olivia found herself unable to maintain the pretense. She received him in the drawing room, where fewer candles than usual burned and the fire was banked low to conserve coal. "You've been avoiding me," he said without preamble. "I've been indisposed." "You've been hiding." He studied her face. "Something has happened. Tell me." His directness, usually so refreshing, now felt like an intrusion. "It's a private family matter, my lord. We are back to formalities." He stepped closer. "Olivia, whatever troubles you, I wish to help." "You cannot. Try me." Perhaps it was exhaustion, or the gentle concern in his voice, but Olivia's composure cracked. "My inheritance is gone. Lost in a failed investment. We cannot maintain even this modest establishment. Soon everyone will know we are destitute." She expected pity, or a polite retreat. Instead, Edmund's expression hardened. "Who managed these investments?" "My cousin William. He meant well, I'm certain. Meaning well doesn't replace lost funds." He paced the room. "There are options, Olivia. Solutions. None that preserve dignity. We shall manage somehow. Marry me." The words hung in the silent room. Olivia stared at him, certain she had misheard. "I beg your pardon." Edmund crossed to her, taking her hands in his. "Marry me, Olivia. Become my countess." "You cannot be serious." "I have never been more serious." She pulled her hands away. "I will not be a charity case, my lord. Nor will I trap you in a marriage of obligation." "Obligation?" He laughed without humor. "Do you think I've spent these weeks in your company out of some sense of duty? That I've sought your conversation, your insights, your companionship because I felt obligated? I think you are a kind man who now sees an opportunity to be heroic. Then you don't know me at all." His voice grew quiet. "I love you, Olivia. I have loved you since I heard you play that first night, when your soul showed itself through music while everyone else was too blind to see." Tears threatened, but Olivia held them back. "You cannot love me. Men like you do not love women like me." "What sort of man am I, then? And what sort of woman are you?" "You know perfectly well. You are wealthy, titled, handsome, and you are intelligent, compassionate, talented, plain," she finished. "Ordinary. Unremarkable. No." He gripped her shoulders gently. "Never that. Not to me." Before she could respond, the drawing room door burst open. Aunt Margaret stood there, eyes wide. "Olivia. Mr. Dawson is here, our creditor, with 2 constables. He says he's come to seize property against our debts." Edmund straightened. "Show them in, Mrs. Ackley. I shall handle this matter." "Edmund, no," Olivia protested. "This isn't your concern." "It became my concern the moment it touched you." His expression brooked no argument. "Trust me, Olivia. For once in your life, allow someone else to fight for you." The confrontation that followed was brief but decisive. Edmund paid Mr. Dawson's claim in full, extracting a receipt and a grudging apology for the manner of his collection. When the creditors departed, he turned back to the astonished women. "That resolves the immediate crisis, but not the underlying situation." His tone was businesslike now. "Mrs. Ackley, I have asked for your niece's hand in marriage. I would appreciate your blessing." Aunt Margaret sank into a chair. "Marriage? To Olivia?" "Yes. I find her exceptional in every way that matters." "But who?" Aunt Margaret looked between them in confusion. "Surely you understand, my lord, that Olivia has no dowry now, no connections of value. I am well aware of Miss Ackley's financial situation. I am equally aware of her character, intelligence, and the joy her presence brings me. Those are the only matters of consequence. This is madness, Olivia whispered. Is it madness to want happiness? Edmund asked softly. To recognize worth beyond what society values. To love. The word hung between them, fragile and powerful. You will regret this, she warned. When the gossips speculate on why the Earl of Quincy chose such an unremarkable bride. When you are faced daily with women far more beautiful, I have seen beauty empty as a mirror reflection, Olivia. I prefer substance. He took her hand again. Say yes. Not for financial salvation, that I would provide regardless of your answer, but because you feel something for me as well. Aunt Margaret had fallen silent, watching them with bewilderment. Olivia looked into Edmund's eyes and saw what she had been afraid to recognize, genuine love, unwavering and certain. Her own feelings, so carefully controlled, broke through her practiced composure. I do feel something, she admitted quietly. Something I never expected to feel. Then say yes. Yes. Their wedding 3 weeks later caused the sensation Edmund had predicted and Olivia had dreaded. The announcement in the papers prompted a flurry of speculation. Lady Harrington declared it the most peculiar match of the season, while others whispered of secret scandals or hidden motives. Let them talk, Edmund said as they drove away from the church. Their opinions matter not at all. Olivia, in a wedding dress of cream silk far finer than any garment she had ever owned, looked at her husband with lingering disbelief. I keep expecting to wake from this dream. Not a dream. He lifted her gloved hand to his lips. Though I admit I sometimes feel the same incredulity. How fortunate I was to find you. Fortunate to find a plain, penniless spinster. She smiled to soften the words. Fortunate to find the woman whose mind matches my own. Whose courage astounds me. Whose eyes hold more beauty than any I've ever seen. He touched her cheek. The woman who doesn't realize how extraordinary she is. As their carriage carried them toward their new life together, Olivia leaned into his embrace, finally allowing herself to believe in his vision, not of her outward appearance, but of the person she was beneath the surface that society had deemed unworthy of notice. I love you, Edmund, she whispered. And are you, my extraordinary wife? He smiled. Always. In time, London society found new subjects for gossip. The Earl and Countess of Quincy became known for their musical evenings, their charitable work, and eventually, their 3 children who inherited their mother's musical talent and their father's penetrating grey eyes. And if people sometimes still whispered about the plain Miss Ackley who had somehow captured an Earl, the Countess of Quincy paid them no mind. She had learned what truly mattered, that beauty existed in many forms, and the most lasting kind was found not in a looking glass, but in the eyes of those who truly saw you.